What's going on, football world? It's Carter with X's and O's, and on this video I'm going to be discussing the gap blocking concept as it relates to the power run. As you can see below, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 diagrams that I'm going to be using in just a little while to demonstrate the blocking concept in depth after we go through the rules. Also, what you can see above is an offensive line pre-drawn with the center being the square. We have a guard, tackle, tight end. Again, the center, guard, tackle, tight end, and you have all of the defensive techniques already pre-numbered for you. I did do a video if you want to go back and review that concept in depth with the defensive techniques and gaps. Do so at your leisure. I just wanted to save a little bit of time because this may be a longer video just because we have to go into depth. But if you do want to watch that, you can go back and do that. That is in the video library. Another thing that we need to talk about before we get started is the diagrams and play side and backside. And so for the sake of this video, all of the diagrams below are a I formation, okay, and they are I right because the tight end is on the right side in every diagram below. And for the sake of the video, we are going to call the all plays below are going to be a I right 26, an I right 26 power. And power tells our team what the blocking scheme is going to be. And so once we know our rules, we know how to execute I right 26 power. 26, 2 is the tailback, and 6 is going into the 6 hole. I did do a video on the offensive numbering of holes and the numbering of offensive backfield. That is a video available to you in the library as well. But for the sake of this video, all of these diagrams, we are going to call the play I right 26 power when we get to it, and I'll explain that further down the road. Because all plays are going to be going to the right, we are going to call everything going this direction play side. 26, the tailback is getting the ball, and we are going into the 6 hole. 6 is an even number, so the play is going to the right. The right is play side. Adversely, or conversely, everything to the left is backside. Now, why am I color coding backside in X's and O's green just like in the power call above? I am doing that for a specific reason, because in a gap blocking concept, when we are running power, all offensive linemen are responsible for a backside gap. Okay, so let's talk about that next. When we are talking about the backside gap responsibilities, the tight end, the play side tight end, this guy right here, from a 4 technique, which I already have labeled, from a 4 technique out to a 6 technique, the tight end is responsible for that C gap. Again, I'm going to color code. It is a backside gap for the tight end. It is behind him. It is to the left. So this tight end, the C gap, A, B, C, is to the left, which means anything to the left is backside. Therefore, that is his power or his gap blocking rule for power. Let's move over for the play side offensive tackle. The offensive tackle is going to block anything from the 2 technique over to a 4 technique. That is the responsibility of the play side offensive tackle. He is responsible for the B gap. he is responsible for the B gap, like so. Okay, the offensive guard, the play side offensive guard, this guy is responsible for any technique, defensive technique from a 0 over to a 2. That is the offensive guard. And that gap is the A gap. So as you can see, all play side gaps are covered, but because the gap is to the left of the offensive lineman, it is a backside gap responsibility for power, for gap blocking concept, A, B, and C. Let's talk about the offensive center. The offensive center is pretty special. He is going to block 2 gaps from a 4 technique all the way back over to his 0 technique. Is the responsibility of the offensive center. And I'll tell you why here in just a second, but he is responsible for the backside A and the backside B. He's responsible for the backside A and the backside B. A, B. From a 4 technique over to a 0 technique, that is the responsibility of the offensive center. Why? Because as you can see below in the lower diagrams, the backside offensive guard, this guy here, okay, he is the pull man. He is going to be pulling play side, so he cannot have a gap. We are going to make up for his gap with the offensive center, and that's why the center has 2 gaps. Let's keep moving forward. And the backside offensive tackle here is responsible for anything from a 6 technique over to a 4 technique. That's the offensive tackle. And the gap he is responsible for is the backside C gap. And then if you wanted to leave a tight end in the ball game, like we have here, then the tight end would be responsible for anything. And as you know, the D gap continues out. So the tight end, if you have a tight end on the backside, would be responsible for the backside D gap, like so. So as you can see on play side, the A, B, C gaps are all taken care of. We are not worried about the play side D gap. We are running in between. We are running in the 6 hole again, 2, 4, 6. So we're running right there in between the C and the D gap. We're not worried about the play side D gap. But all backside gaps, A, B, C, and D, are all taken care of depending on the formation. Okay, let's start talking about the rules and how we're going to block this. So this portion, I'm just going to write blocking rules. Okay, blocking rules, and basically the offensive linemen are going to follow these rules in order of precedence, meaning the first rule is the most important. And so the first rule says we are going to ask ourselves, if we are an offensive lineman, we're going to ask ourselves, do I have anybody head up on me? If there is anybody head up on me, and as you can see above, anything that is a head up technique is an even number. So a 0, 2, 4, or 6, if I have a head up technique on me, I am going to execute a drive block. A drive block. I've also heard coaches call it a base block. Okay, whatever you want to call it is fine, but we're going to try to get that guy off the ball on roller skates and going backwards. If we have nobody on an even technique or on a head up technique, we're going to move to the second rule. Do I have anybody in my backside gap? And this is where I said earlier in the video where the offensive linemen have to know defensive techniques. We just spoke about all the gap responsibilities that the offensive linemen are responsible for. That is their backside gap. That is the AB for the center, backside AB for the center. The guard has the A, the tackle has the B, the tight end has the C, etc., etc. That is their backside gaps. If somebody is not head up on them, but somebody is sitting in their backside gap relative to the defensive technique above, they need to execute a down block. They need to execute a down block. I've also heard it referred to as an angle block. Okay, whatever you want to call it or teach your players, that's fine. But if they have nobody in head up, they move to backside gap and they execute a down block or angle block. If no one is in a head up technique and nobody is sitting in their gap, they're going to move to the third rule, which is they are going to block second level, backside, very important on this part, that, and I'm going to put this in red, and I'm color coding this in red for a reason. You'll see why by the end of the video. Do not block the point. Who is the point? We will discuss that when we get into the diagrams. So that's the third rule. Second level backside, do not block the point. The point belongs to the offensive guard, the backside offensive guard who's pulling, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit in the diagrams, which we are getting close. Other rules, and then we'll be ready to diagram. Other rules, we have some other important players who we cannot forget about. And one of those are the fullback. And the fullback is responsible for, he is going to kick out first man outside of and then I'm just going to abbreviate the end man on the line of scrimmage, LOS. So the fullback is responsible for kicking out the first man outside of the end man on the line of scrimmage. And then finally, let's talk about the backside guard, who again is in red. So I'm just going to put backside OG. Okay, and that's the guy in red in all diagrams, and even up here on the offensive line template. The backside OG is going to pull to the point. I'm just going to put pull to point. And again, I have to tell you who the point is, and I'll show you that in here in just a little bit. So there you have the basic gap blocking concept. You have the offensive players are responsible for a gap, a backside gap, and then they have blocking rules that they have to work through in sequential order in order to get to their responsibilities. As I said above and earlier, all of the plays below are I right 26 power. Play side is going to the right, backside is going to the left. Let's talk about running the I right 26 power against a 4-3 over. First things first, we have to designate the point. Again, here I said do not block the point. The backside OG, offensive guard, pulls to point. The point is the player. Let's clean that up a little bit. The point is the first, second level box player play side. So the Sam in a 4-3 over is the first, second level player play side. We're going to leave him alone. Why? Because the backside guard is going to pull to point. Let's go through our other blocking rules. And again, let's go play side, back to backside. So the tight end asked himself, does he have anybody head up? A head up on the tight end would be a 6 technique. That is a no. So we move to the second rule, backside gap, which his backside gap extends from a 4 to a 6. There is nobody from a 4 to a 6, so he goes to the third rule, second level backside, but not the point. So he might get a punch on the 9 technique for 2 steps, and then he's going to run past that point, and he's going to go get second level player. He's going to go get Mike. Let's go to the tackle. Tackle. Nobody is head up. A head up on the tackle would be a 4 technique. So he goes to his inside gap. Inside gap for him would be anybody from a 2 out to a 4. There is a 3 technique. So he has the second rule, which is block down on his backside gap. So he is going to block down on that 3 technique. Let's move to the play side guard. He does not have a head up, which is a 2 technique. And so now he needs to go to his second rule, which is backside gap. Backside gap for the guard would be 0 to 2. There is not a 0 or anything from a 0 to a 2, so he moves to the third rule, which is second level backside, not the point. So again, this is where a double team might take place on the 3 technique. Might double team him here for 2 steps, and then on the third step we leave. The mic is probably gone. And is already accounted for by somebody. So we go backside to Will. Let's go to the center. The center is responsible for both the A and the B gap. And he is responsible from anything, as you can see, from a 4 technique to a 0 technique. Well, he has a 1 technique sitting there, so he has a easy turnout down block on the 1 technique right there. The backside guard right here, pull to point. We are going to get around the D tackle, and you can have them call a call. I've heard numbers be used for the offensive lineman so that guard knows where he's going to get around and then what level the linebacker's at. But he's going to pull to the point, and then the backside tackle, as you can see here, has anything from a 6 technique to a 4 technique, and so he's just going to turn out on the 5 like so, and we're in good shape. Fullback kicks out the first man outside of the end man on the line of scrimmage. The end man on the line of scrimmage is the tight end, so we are going to kick out the first man outside of the end man on the line of scrimmage. So the fullback comes here, kicks out the 9 technique. Kicks out the 9 technique right there. And we are going to run 26 power right there. There's our power play. And the quarterback might do some type of bootleg fake. And we're handing the ball off right there. There's our power play with our gap blocking concept. Let's move into the other diagram to the right. This is a 4-3 over turned into a 52 under. As you can see, the 9 technique got kicked into a 5, and the Sam walked up on the line of scrimmage. We still call the same play, and based upon the rules, you'll see we can block it the same way. So, again, we first have to identify the point. The point is the first, second level player. The first, second level player play side. Okay, all play side is to the right. So now in the backside diagram it was Sam, now it's Mike. Let's move through our blocking rules. Head up, inside. Okay, so we down block on the 9. Head up, inside. There's nobody inside for the offensive tackle, so we go Second level backside past the point. He's going to go get the will all the way on the backside. Nobody is head up on the guard. So we go backside gap. We do have a backside gap, so we block down on that. The center, again the center, two gaps, A and B, going from a 4 technique all the way to a 0 technique. So now the center. Now here, what the backside offensive guard can do to help out the center is you can get some type of B gap call. I would have my, in the power concept, I would have my backside gap or my backside offensive guard just yell out buddy. Yell out buddy for the B gap. We have somebody sitting in the B gap right now. That's going to tell that center he has somebody in the B gap. He's going to have to help out on that, and that's going to help out everybody. So just an alert call. But that center is going to block back on the 3. He's going to pull around to point. Go get Mike right there, or the point man, and then the backside offensive tackle is just going to turn out right there. Fullback kicks out the first man outside of the end man on the line of scrimmage. End man on the line of scrimmage is still the tight end, but now the first man outside of the end man on the line of scrimmage is the Sam. So the fullback's going to kick that like so, and we still have our 26 power with the tailback running through there, and our quarterback maybe executing some type of bootleg fake. And so we can still run it against anything with our rules, no matter what the defense does. Let's move down into this would be a 53. So now we have an 8-man box. These were both 7-man boxes, so now we have an 8-man box. We can still run our power play. So there is our point, head up inside, second level backside past the point. We're going to go block him. We're going to go block the Mike with the tight end. Let's move to the tackle, head up. Nobody is head up. We do have an inside player, so we're going to block down on the 3 like so. Okay, let's go to the guard. We do not have a head up technique, but we do have, if you go up here, the guard is responsible for the A gap, 0 to 2. So there is a 0 technique, so we are going to have to block back on that 0 right there. Not a problem. We'll block back on that. The center is responsible for 2 gaps. Again, here we might get that, like I discussed earlier, we might get that buddy call. We might get a buddy call to let the center know right now that we do have a 3 technique sitting in that backside gap. And so we call buddy, and the center is going to block back on that 3 like so. The backside guard is going to pull around the 3 technique and go get the point, who is the Sam right now. And then the backside offensive tackle will block back into his C gap. And there we have our power rules working for us. Fullback blocks the first man outside of the end man on the line of scrimmage, which is the 9 technique right there. And we're still off and running our 26 power right there and carrying out our bootleg fake or whatever you want to execute there. So it even works against a 8-man box. Now, as you can see, the will is unaccounted for, but that will, if we hit this hard going up through here, this will is not going to catch this thing until it gets maybe 10 or 15 yards if that will is pretty fast. So, you know, we're in good shape not blocking that backside. We don't want the 5 technique chasing behind the line of scrimmage and tackling us behind the line of scrimmage back here. So we always want to account for first level, and our rules do provide for that. Let's get into the last diagram. And the reason why I spent so much time on the diagram is because I felt it important to show you how the rules work against any defense as long as your rules are solid. I'm going to count Mike as the point. Some people would count the Sam as the point because in a traditional 34 defense, Sam is kind of off the line. You know, if you're running power against this, there's no reason why you shouldn't get 5 yards a pop. But you know, you might want to play games in a 34. You can make the Sam the point, but in this scenario, I'm going to make Mike the point, and we're going to go through our blocking rules. So again, for the tight end, head up. Nobody is head up, so we're going to go backside gap. Backside gap is from a 4 to a 6. We do have a 4, so we are going to block down with the tight end on that 4 technique there. Now with the offensive tackle, head up, we do have an even technique, so we are going to block this, and we're going to get a double team here. Now, do we want to stay on that double team? We do to get movement, but the first rule always overrules the second and the third rule. So in this case, the offensive tackle is going to stay because he has the head up call. Now, if once the tackle gains control and we get movement on that 4 technique, we may want to have this tight end trickle off and work to backside like so. So we might start with a double team. The tackle is going to stay because he has the first rule responsibility, which is head up. But if these guys feel each other and talk to each other, the tight end might start here on the double team and then leave and work to backside past the point. Let's move to the offensive guard. Head up, inside. A 0 technique to a 2 technique. So we are going to block back on that. Again, if he, well, let's move to the center. The center has a head up technique as well. So the center has to stay with his rule, and we are going to get a double team there. But again, the center is going to stay on that nose guard. If the center gets control of the nose guard and gets movement on this guy, then again, the guard can trickle off and work to backside. Maybe go get that rover on the backside like so. Backside guard is going to obviously pull to the point. And so we're just going to get around here, pull to the point. He's going to go get that mic. And then the backside tackle here, you may want to put some type of rule in here. He might want to bucket reach that, you know, and get in there and make sure that penetration isn't allowed by the 4. Or maybe you put a special rule in there where he just simply cuts down the 4 on the backside. However you want to do it, that would work in that situation. But then we have our fullback kicking out the first man outside of the end man of the line of scrimmage, and we're running our power play again. I think against the 34, this power concept or this gap blocking concept against the 34 is really effective. So I know it's been a long video, but this has discussed the gap blocking concept in relationship to the power run. As you can see, if your offensive linemen know defensive techniques, their gap responsibility, the blocking rules, and play side and backside, I tell you what, this concept can work against pretty much any defensive front that they throw at you. This has been Carter with X's and O's. I hope it's added to your knowledge of the game of football. Whether you're a player, coach, or a fan, leave a comment in the comment section or email me at xzandos.com. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'd like to say thank you to all the subscribers so far, and there will be more videos to come.